All right, everybody, welcome to episode 1 of Life Coaching with Ryan Book Club. We are once again reading The Willpower Instinct by Kelly McGonigal, and I have some notes. So, let's chat about it. This episode is for chapters 1 and 2, and some things I found very interesting specifically about chapter 1 was the comparison between Phineas Gage and an unnamed woman who had seizures or had a brain surgery in order to stop her seizures. So with Phineas Gage, if you don't know, he received an injury to his prefrontal cortex, which stopped his self-regulation, whereas this woman had the surgery to her brain removed the impulsive part of her brain, which also is responsible for her instinctual fears. So while Phineas lost control of his emotion and his self-regulation, she stopped being afraid and started doing things like hitting on her family. So Kelly's point was that you need both the impulsive part of your brain and the self-regulatory part of your brain in order to be a balanced, healthy human. Another interesting point that something I found interesting anyway, was this idea that self-judgment is a barrier to self-control. So, for example, bad meditation. So she talks about doing this breathing exercise. It's just the meditation where you return to your breath. So you take 5 minutes, let's say, or 20 minutes, however long that you have, and you breathe, and when you notice that your thoughts are going somewhere else, you go back to your breath. Well, that is essentially, in a microcosm, the act of self-control. So if you're bad at meditating, i.e. you lose focus and you have to return to your focus, you're actually training yourself for self-regulation and self-control better than if your thoughts never wandered. I thought that was very fascinating. Also, to me, that reinforces the idea that when you first try to do something, you're not going to be good at it. So judging yourself for not being good at something you just started learning to do, kind of silly, not really worth it. So there's a phrase that I heard recently, be your best now, be better later, which I found very counterintuitive. When we break it down, essentially, your best right now may not be that good. So you giving your best effort is what matters now, and then you can figure out being better later. She also brings up the idea of journaling for awareness. Now, I was just talking to a client about this recently. Sometimes any journaling at all is beneficial. It doesn't matter if it's for 5 minutes or for 3 pages, like morning pages. If you're not familiar with Julia Cameron, look it up. Very interesting. Any type of journaling will increase your self-awareness. That wasn't Dr. McGonigal's statement, Kelly's statement, but that's my statement. That sometimes it's just capturing your thoughts helps you be more aware of them. So doing any type of journaling is going to be valuable. Now, she has specific recommendations, the type of journaling, like journaling when your willpower is strongest or when it's weakest, or journaling the types of thoughts that come through your head. Anything like that would be valuable. I thought that was very interesting as well. And lastly, from chapter 1, a major point was meditating. There's a couple meditations that she lists throughout the book. They're all based on the mindfulness meditation of becoming aware of your breath. She extends that in chapter 2 to talk about a different meditation. We'll get to that in a minute, but it's essentially the same thing. It's just taking time to be with your breath and be with your body. So as far as that goes with chapter 2, again, we're dealing with this notion of kind of two selves, but in this case, it's two instincts. So fight or flight versus pause and plan. So these have different effects on our brain because they're evolutionarily wired differently. So for fight or flight, it's taking blood and energy away from the prefrontal cortex, because when you have to survive, if you're taking too much time thinking, good chance you're going to end up dead. So all the rest of the energy goes to the impulsive part of the brain and to your heart rate and adrenaline and muscles to get you moving, whether it's defending yourself in a fight or running, getting away from the situation as fast as possible. So that is not going to be very helpful for self-control and willpower. However, pause and plan does the opposite. So it takes energy and gives it to the prefrontal cortex so that you can consider what's happening, your thoughts, etc., etc. So when we, in our everyday life, are we have different states of consciousness. Yeah, we have different states of physical being, whether it's amped up with stress or a lack of sleep or very well rested and well fed or hungry or whatever. If you have never heard of HALT, I think that's a really interesting way to capture it. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. That if you have any of those things, it's going to reduce your capacity for mood regulation. And if you have multiple of those things, it's going to be even worse. I just felt my stomach growl a little bit just now. So when we're working on willpower, we want to make sure that we are well fed, that we are taking care of our emotional environment, that we are sleeping enough, because these things are going to help us be the best we can be and be most effective in our choices. So we also, when we get into these states, need to realize if the threat is external or internal. She gives the example of cheesecake versus a saber-toothed tiger. The saber-toothed tiger is going to try to kill you. The cheesecake is just going to sit on a plate. It's not going to do anything to you. You have to take action in order to have the cheesecake be a problem for you. So when you recognize the threat is internal, you can do different things to regulate your thoughts, etc., etc. There is no immediate action that must be taken, so you can help shift your brain from a fight or flight type of response to a pause or a plan response. So something interesting she brings up, as I mentioned before, about sleep and food, etc., is a willpower prescription. Sleep of at least 6 hours, if not more. Well, if not more, at least. 5+ minutes of breathing exercises, meditation, and 5+ minutes of exercise. So these are some simple recommendations that you might consider in your life. Specifically, these things affect your heart rate variability. When you are in fight or flight, you do not have good heart rate variability. When you are in high stress, you do not have good heart rate variability. Your heart rate is consistent and it is high. What you want is your heart rate to be lower and be able to modulate. So just if you were to feel your heart when you're breathing and you take a deep breath in, and breath out, you can actually feel your heart rate change slightly. That's very good. That means your body is able to be responsive to the situation. High heart rate variability, your body is not able to respond well to the situation. So by getting enough sleep, by doing breathing exercises where you slow your breath as much as possible without holding it, that's going to help you with your heart rate variability, and that's going to help you manage your stress and your willpower. So the last thing of particular note that she brings up in chapter 2 is being too in control as a problem. So this again goes back to this idea of you need both parts of your brain to be a healthy, balanced individual, the impulsive and the self-control sections. But this is even more to the point of how willpower sucks from a reserve. You have a limited amount of energy in your body. I think we seem to forget that we're animals. We seem to forget that our body has limitations, and we think I should just be able to be perfect all the time. But that's simply not true. You need to be able to give yourself a break, hence the sleep and the breathing and the exercise. So you have relaxation and you have capacity. Judgment is going to be a barrier. When you judge yourself for what you are capable of, you're going to set suggestions for yourself that just aren't reasonable, expectations for yourself that just aren't reasonable. You need to have some self-compassion. And when you choose what areas in which you're going to have good willpower and good self-control, focus on those first, everything else second. She mentioned this one person meeting their goal by putting their willpower where their goals are. So this person made a very conscious choice to focus on a limited amount of control tasks, and then she could make additional choices later. So self-induced stress, not helpful. She has a lot of other really cool facts and recommendations, great studies that you can look into. So chapters 1 and 2 in the books, as it were, read some of her suggestions. Leave some comments down below. Don't forget, when you click on the video, there's actually a little comment panel that pops in the bottom, and you can add a comment. So what I'd really like to know is, where are you in your willpower journey? Where are you with your awareness of your body, your resources? I'd really like to know if people think they aren't getting enough sleep, if they aren't getting enough food, if they are not getting enough time for relaxation, since all those things drastically affect your capacity for willpower. So let me know where you're at. Next Monday, we're going to do episode 2, which is going to be chapters 3 and 4 for sure, but it may even be 3 through 5. And I'll send you guys another story pretty soon to update you on where I'm at. So I hope you have a great day, a great Monday, a great week, and I'll talk to you later.